Hello. Give everybody a few moments to jump in. Try to move my screen around. Hello. Yes, I'm doing well. A little warm, but we're doing all right. Just trying to move my screens around without clicking the wrong button. I hope you're well as well. How's your Sunday going? Give everybody a few minutes. I know we have some late that typically show up. Hey, it's what I'm here for. I appreciate you being here. I really do. Uh, Helps me share some stuff, and if it helps you guys, then it's all well worth it. Me sitting down doing it. Sure is. Just going to give everybody about, I don't know, I'll give everybody about 5, 6 after, and then we'll just jump on in. We tried to ride the motorcycle today. Me and my wife went to breakfast. It was like 9 o'clock. And by the time I got home, it was, whew, I was sweaty. I didn't had to get a shower and everything. Is the audio okay? I'm using a new microphone setup, so y'all have to let me know if I cut in or out. All right. All right, that's good. That's good. It is a warm one here in the Carolinas. I don't think I so much mind the heat, but it's the humidity that does it in. If I'm looking funny now, it's because I ain't got my glass. I can't see nothing without my glasses on. Ooh. Okay, there we go. All right, there's a couple, 3, 4 of us on here. Awesome, awesome. All right, we got us couple 3. Um, so what we're doing? So did everybody look at overstaying your welcome over the week? Whether it be, I think it was at work. I remember off the top of my head times that you think that you could, you know, make your exit, so to speak. Oh God, yeah, Florida. I could only imagine. At least all my outdoor chores are done for today. I've already brought the motorcycle back in the house, and we'll stay inside the rest of the day. I get to work out in it all day tomorrow, so I'm sure I'll make up for the mowing. Hey, it was not much, man. Just sitting here talking about the heat, and all right. So ammo, I'm gonna call you ammo. Kind of break it down a little bit. In your homework, what'd you find? What was the outcome? And I know I looked at it as I normally linger in meetings a little bit, and this time I just kind of I didn't show out or anything. I just gently got up and uh, stalled myself out real quick, and it seemed to work better. Okay, all right. All right. So I'm gonna give everybody time to chime in on their homework in a minute as we go along, but I'll get us started so that we can mow yards and still get our knowledge in at the same time today. So we're kind of going over like uh, evaluating unpredictable variables, emotional vitality, and red flags. Sounds like some stuff that we all need nowadays. And examine desire as vulnerability, unpacking how passion can compromise intellect, of your intellectual sovereignty and critical judgment. So y'all got that hot man or woman and in your life, and sometimes it can lead to you making decisions that you wouldn't otherwise make. And then we'll kind of go over Billing's daughter in stanzas 96 through 102. The meat of poetry 104 through 110. And they're good, everybody always wants to send me a message right when I'm doing something. All right. But all right, so that's off. That's kind of what we're gonna go after today. Kind of like not letting desire rule us, so to speak. All right. So stanzas 81 through 90, evaluating vitality and unproven commitments as inherent operational risks. So there's elements defined in the inherent volatility, breaking down bow and ravenous wolf, a rootless tree and thawing ice. These serve as metaphors for unverified promises and operational fragility. And I believe the stanza 81 is that at evening the day shall be praised, a woman when burned, a sword when tried. That is some deep words. The tactical takeaway for this is establishing rigorous due diligence. What's that now? On the front of the modern sitting too long. I came in from a different angle. I thought about the welfare system and yeah, now that's a good angle, kind of like it could also uh, coincide with the guest, and the being a good guest. Yeah. So that kind of intermingles. Yeah. So it's gonna do the tactical takeaways with operational risk. Yeah. So like, um, it is very easy, very very easy to become sedentary. And I found myself as I moved up to a supervisor position a few 5 6 years ago. I had to force myself out into the field because I could lose a whole day at my desk. And I separate my time with content creation and stuff now between I have a small laptop downstairs and then I have my setup up here. And I go bouncing back and forth so that I don't become sedentary. Not to mention having my own law, you know, I don't have a opportunity a lot to just sit, but it is very, very easy. Absolutely right. Um, uh, that that's a hard one sometimes. But you have to be careful of that. Sit still. So this kind of goes into desire and cognitive sovereignty. Love as an intellect, and it's a vulnerability. Passion often ensnares the wise, where the fool remains untouched. Mighty desires turn a sound mind into a foolish one. Yes, it is about finding balance, very much so. Um, and I guess the stanzas 93 through 94 are kind of like having intellectual discipline, and it's the only safeguard against the strategic blindness induced by intense emotional desire. And emotional desire could be a lot of things, though, guys. It could be anger. Um, it could be, handsome man, beautiful woman. Uh, financial desires. And you get so locked in to that desire of whatever it is, and then you end up, you know, making things worse. Or, I've even seen people destroy themselves. Desire, and something that I was kind of going back over some stuff with uh the gentleman. Well, I ain't gonna call him gentleman. The guy that um he did all that stuff to his family. He was from North Carolina, but they were living in Colorado, and he hurt his wife, and kids. Well, past hurt, but y'all know how the standards community guidelines are. He unalived his whole family, and his desire for another woman is what drove that. It drove him uh, to becoming, a monster, and we have to control our desires. It's not in the Christian sense, though, guys. Like, you're gonna, uh, go burn or whatever. Desire, you don't control it. You end up doing it to yourself. Me and Miss Joy had a long conversation about that the other day, about how, we tend to, not only as people that follow the Norse path, we tend to handle problems ourselves, and we make problems ourselves. And we're not asking a divine being to, help us out with either one. And that's kind of where that's kind of going. Um, Odin becomes enamored with Billing's daughter, pursuing her despite the warnings. See, even Odin was devoured by desire. He returns at night to find a barking dog tied to a bed and armored guards, leading to public scorn and humiliation. You know, that's a red flag, guys. Unchecked desire blinds even high level strategy to obvious traps and deceptive posturing. The strategic exit: cut losses immediately when encountering hostility or false pretense. So we have to cut our losses there. You know what I'm saying? Like, would it be nice to hold that man or woman, or, that drink or whatever it is? But sometimes you have to cut your losses and how you're going to feel. So hostile environments and false pretenses are indicators of high risk, low reward engagements. So you may get a temporary reward, but it's not going to be a high reward where you're going to benefit, you know, uh, eternally. It's one of those things where it's a hazard, and you could be embarrassed, like those gentlemen that get online and chat it. And I ain't gonna say gentlemen, those dudes that get online and chat with people that aren't the correct age, and then they get busted. And it's, like Chris Hansen and some of these guys, they do these things where they think they're talking to somebody that's underage, and then they get scorned. And a lot of times it's in public. They did that to themselves. So I'm gonna take a little section out today to talk about Miss Joy's store, the Scarlet Scold. I posted a link in it, but she's got some nice stuff in there that she finally got, guys. She just got it open and ready to go. Um, one promise that she makes is that although that each item might be unique, she can't recreate them. So like if you buy an item, that's that one item. There's not going to be another one like it. And we won't. She's never going to outsource her stuff. She's going to make everything herself. She had something down there a while ago, another bowl, man. I like that. I like that one myself. But I told her I'd give her a couple seconds here, and I'm not going, inundate anybody, but it's not required. We're still going to be doing what we do, but that's, there's a little storefront there in case. A lot of the stuff that she's making, though, guys, is what we use here at home. Like I still have my little tear doll here. It's some kind of it's not wood, but it's like a very strong plaster. She was better at it. She's down there attending. Actually, she's down there and making her stuff now. So be sure y'all check out that that link to her store. Kind of give it a whirl. But we'll get back to what we were doing here. So the meat of poetry here. Strategic focus versus emotional entrapment. And that's kind of where I'm going. Like we get so angry and mad. Or you're in lust or whatever you want to call it. And we tend to let things drive our thoughts. So Odin infuriates the mountain stronghold of Sturtal. Structugunur. I forgot how to pronounce that one. But he frustrates this mountain stronghold to retrieve some the meat of poetry, and he earns the trust, secures the mead, and then escapes in eagle form to complete his primary mission. So we know that was a little deceptive there. And I guess it kind of goes back to what we're willing to do. We need to never allow secondary attachments or personal sentiment to derail our core objectives. Tactical success requires the emotional discipline to prioritize. I can't talk. The final outcome of transient interpersonal bonds. I cannot. It's out there. It's gone. Maintain clear alignment with long-term goals in complex, high-stake negotiations. Tactical discipline ensures the mission survives the pressure of the moment. So if your mission is to take care of your family when you go to work, you don't let people get in your way of it. And it goes back to finding balance. You have to balance your emotions. Whether it be happiness, sadness, anger, you have to balance those things. So, don't let that second of rage or passion or anything kind of drive the cart. You know what I'm saying? Has anybody got any questions so far? You guys are kind of, and you're writing down, y'all good? Everybody's good? All right. I'm assuming we're good. All right. I hope y'all are still here. It shows 8 of you are here. So modern leadership and emotional risk management. So in our jobs, we need to identify personal or at home personal blind spots created by flattery, status seeking, or impulse. And that kind of goes back to that. I see so many creators that get blinded by they want to seek this status. They want to be the top Norse creator. That's good. Yeah, taking it in, that's fine. I just want to stop and check on y'all. These creators that get in there and they get flattered by all these people flooding their inboxes, and then they want this status, and then they have the impulse at the same time where they're hurting people by downgrading them to they don't know something. Yes, I just did some, that garden I was on that live with you guys. I got a few tomatoes growing in. We'll see how things go, but awesome on working, and that's balance there, underachiever. In short, organizational goals remain independent of emotional biases and external validation loops, protecting long-term integrity by avoiding compromise or humiliating tangles in volatile arenas. So we have our beliefs, right? Um, and you don't sacrifice your beliefs because, like, for instance, they wanted me to feel uncomfortable this week during the lunch meeting. Uh, I knew that, they all wanted to do a prayer, but I didn't say a word. And they could have had their prayer, but they skipped their own prayer. And, they're compromising their beliefs, not me. I'm sitting there silently. I'm not hurting a soul. If they want to, they want to change what they would normally do because I'm sitting there, it's not my, you know, not my fault. And I'm not going to feel bad or feel like I should leave the table earlier than everybody because of that. I leave when I feel like it's time for me to leave. Um, so in their scenario, they're, in their beliefs, you know, they're compromising their, in, beliefs in a volatile arena. They made it a volatile arena. I didn't. And it goes for us, like, I'm not, like I say, I'm steadfast in what I believe, and I'm not here to make somebody believe what I believe, but at the same time, I'm not going to give up what I believe because somebody else does it. Um, you know, and that's kind of where this is going, is that, the practical application of all this is, it's a roadmap. It's not a Bible, it's words that were spoken, and uh, we have to translate them and soak them in, so to speak, like you guys are doing today. Um, okay, so we about knocked this one out in 30 minutes today. So we want to do, this kind of week in our lives is, well, it doesn't have to be strict, to a whatever, but we need to identify and audit one professional or personal area where emotional impulse or flattery may be obscure, clear, strategic analysis. And then, what do you guys think the equivalent to modern leadership's equivalent of Odin's pursuit of the Billings daughter, and what structural guardrails prevent it? Like, he did everything he could do and even changed into a eagle to get it. So what's the modern version of that? Like, what all can we do to get that prize at the end without making ourselves, less whole? So there's that balance, like you say, there's a balance in between you and your ears there, between your ears, that you have to keep. You know what your prize is, you know what your goal is, you have to attack that goal. So if it's not feeling bad, right, when somebody looks at you sideways for a different belief system, how do you make that equal on each side? Um, I, like I said before, is this week it's prime example. You know, uh, they had that meeting, and I refused to get up and leave early before, because they had paid for a meal. I'm not going to waste food because they feel uncomfortable. So, and I guess they were kind of waiting around to see if somebody was going to say a prayer, but I went ahead and ate, because I don't say a prayer before I eat. But they chose not to say their prayer, so that's on them. Um, you know, so next week we're gonna we're gonna talk about moral discipline, practical counsel, and social ethics. Like I said, I'll leave this in the that little newsletter thing that I have. I'll add a link to it so you can go back and read over this stuff. Um, I had a couple questions and comments and videos about, certain people getting confused about signs, and uh, we oftentimes, we feel, like we're being pushed towards something, but it gets kind of confusing. Like, how do I answer this? Often the answer is to wait. Um, you don't you're not going to get the answers from the gods like, you know people say that, they hear the Christian God. It's gonna move in the way you feel. And if you keep having the bad feeling, that means that you got to do an internal audit. And it goes back to this stuff too. Do an internal audit of yourself and your feelings. That way you can maybe hear what they're saying. And sometimes you just have to be quiet. And what I mean is, it's not talking, it's talking up here. You're like, oh, I can't hear nothing. I can't hear nothing. Sometimes you just have to be quiet. Um, and I know sometimes it's easier said than done. We all have a lot of things going on in our head. So to make that the best answer I can give you is just take a moment, whether it be by yourself, whatever, put some headphones in, listen to some soothing sounds, be quiet in your mind. And that's the only way. Like, nobody knows. There's days that I'm going like, I have no idea what you guys are wanting me to do. But I do know this is that every time that I will sit here and get behind on some other stuff, and then I have that urge that I need to make sure I do these slides, and that I need to set up to make sure that this thing is scheduled and ready to go, because it's something that they're wanting me to do. And here I am. Hope each one of you guys can get something out of these short little um, talks that we have once a week. It gets me out where I can put some thoughts that I have in my head out. And if that shares some things with you guys and makes an ounce of difference, then that's what I'm here for. Um, but we got it done in around 30 today, normally around an hour. I'm not rambling as much today because I took some quiet time, and you know, uh, took that quiet time to think about the thoughts that I wanted us, to touch today. And you know, uh, I'm gonna start planning what we're gonna do after the Havamal. Why? That's great. That's great. I wish I had an answer for the sweat you're gonna have mowing later, but I don't. Yeah, I just taking my wife on the motorcycle about 3 or 4 miles away from the house today. Yeah, that was brutal, man. So my uh, give an extra thought to Thor for some strength on that one, because definitely that's in Florida. Ooh, heart goes out to you. But like I said, I'll post these things back. They'll be there available where you can listen to them back in case I talk too fast in certain sections or whatever. But they'll always be there. And then I'll post links for the actual slides if you want to read those. Yeah. Um, so, but anyway, you guys, it's been a great Sunday school. Appreciate y'all being here, and we'll see what this week has. And I'm doing another mystery one this week. Me and my intern, we've found something. We're gonna uncover some things of a almost forgotten God. So we'll start filming that probably tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll start filming that one, and we'll have the case files in, and uh, we'll see how this thing goes. I know the retention on my studio for that last detective files was, pretty solid. Um, yes. Hey, I'm here. I'm here always, always. Thank you for being here. But we're going to do this. I'm going to run this detective series for a little while. Hopefully, you guys will like it and get something out of it. And then I'll still be here on lives, and we'll see how things go. And then I may go back to doing some walkie talks later. Probably in the winter. Yeah, yeah. It's kind of warm outside. But anyway, I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.